Winners last night in Big 12 men's basketball: Houston, Baylor, Arizona State, and Oklahoma State. We break it down. He's Ari Timken. I'm James Westling. This is Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio. We are brought to you by Modelo. Our guest in this first hour is the Chancellor Johnson, Big 12 analyst and content creator. He'll be with us here in about 15 minutes. Let's go up to Stillwater. Oklahoma State gets a massive win. BYU came in, number 16 in the country. Oklahoma State was searching for a quad one win, and they got it. Wild one, 99-92. A.J. DeBonsa was unguardable. He went off for 36. But BYU got off to another just disastrous start. Oklahoma State opened the game on a 20-9 run. BYU took more than 3 minutes from the get-go to make a field goal, and Anthony Roy had 8 of those first 20 for Oklahoma State. BYU comes back. It's tied at halftime, 41-all. BYU briefly had an early lead in the second half before Oklahoma State went on an extended run and actually led at the 4-minute timeout by a dozen after Anthony Roy canned a 3. They hang on for the win.
Yeah, I mean, look at the score, 99-92. I think we talked about the issues that BYU has defensively, and that was evident in this game, not just from the start, James, but throughout. I mean, you're consistently giving up 90, 100 points in games. That's really tough. And I think big picture, like, if they don't fix their defense, I don't know how this team can be a deep tournament team, because look what happened to them last year. Even if you don't run into an Alabama team that just shoots crazy from three, like, you're going to run into a team that can score against you. And so, big win for Oklahoma State, big picture. I mean, this has got to help solidify for them a good path to getting into the tournament. You know, we talked about UCF is probably in with their 2 quad one wins already, maybe. But Oklahoma State was searching for one, and they get it. Anthony Roy, you mentioned, 30 points for him. He was phenomenal in this game. And, despite the slow start, this game was still tied at half. So I think Oklahoma State did a really good job of not just, leading from ahead, but, taking advantage of the second half as well of this porous defense for BYU.
And Oklahoma State also has a top 25 win over UCF. So based off of where UCF sits, even with their loss to Houston, this may slide up to be Oklahoma State's second quad one win. Certainly should be, because UCF is like 37th, at least they were in the net rankings, which the net rankings don't get updated on a 24-hour basis. It's like every couple of days. So we don't know where Oklahoma State and UCF sit right now. But looking at KenPom, Oklahoma State could easily have 2 quad one wins, and all of a sudden their resume looks very, very different. They're 3-2 in their last 5. They've won back-to-back. They're almost 500 in Big 12 play, and they are the new front runner to get that 8th bid in the Big 12.
What do you think was the difference in this game?
Well, I think BYU's defense, something is afoot with BYU defensively, because they're very analytics-driven. And Kevin Young had comments yesterday about BYU and their defense, and maybe they're allowing guys that, from a percentage standpoint, don't shoot the ball particularly well. They're basically not guarding those guys, and those guys are making shots because they're wide open. So they've got to tweak some things defensively. That is an issue.
Yeah, they also had 16 turnovers in this game, which BYU, Oklahoma State was able to turn into points, 22 points on 16 turnovers. And then I think the other part to this is that Oklahoma State was plus 14 in the paint, 50 paint points to 36. So, I mean, they kind of got wherever they want offensively.
Huge win for the Cowboys. Now, there's 2 different parts of this game. Number 1 is what happened on the floor, and number 2 is what happened in the crowd. Once again, there were some derogatory chants that we want to reemphasize are not cool, not okay in the Big 12. Oklahoma State is 3-1 against BYU all-time in Stillwater. So this wasn't the first time they've beaten BYU in Stillwater. My first thought was, well, Oklahoma State just hasn't been there. Either way, it's not okay.
Yeah, here, let's take a listen. Can we hear what Kevin Young had to say about this after the game?
Just there was some F the Mormons chants tonight by the student section that I heard. It's a great win for Oklahoma State University. Their fans should be proud. But it would be great if some class was warrant, in there as well. I got 4 small kids at home. I'm a Mormon. When I go home, they're going to ask me about it. same way they asked me about it last year at Arizona. There's just too much hate in the world to be saying stuff like that. We got enough problems in our world without going at people's religion and beliefs and like whether it's in vogue or not. And we don't even have our whole teams. We only have probably 4 or 5 guys who are even Mormon on the team. I understand what we represent, but even for a guy like AJ, you know, like that stuff is unwarranted. And like I said, man, like, you know, I try to talk to our guys about being examples in the world. Like we can use basketball to really just bring people together and not tear people apart. It's something we talk about a lot. And it's just disappointing. So I hope someone prints that. I hope it's in bold on someone's publication, and just try to maybe together as a society we can just help the world kind of move forward and not divide each other and with hate and things that's really nonsensical.
Yeah, it's extremely disappointing. You know, you get the student section, like they get amped up and they're going to say things. I mean, there was the chance for Darren Peterson the other night and whatever, but
Lubbock, yeah.
It's completely unacceptable. Just full stop. It's completely unacceptable, and it's got to stop across the Big 12. BYU has been a godsend for this conference. BYU has been tremendous for this conference. Forget the fact that BYU fans routinely put together opportunities to, you know, collect money, funds for other schools and some of the things they've got going on. What was the thing with BYU before the BYU Texas Tech football game? There was the Texas Tech.
Like the Texas Tech team barber
Yes.
had been in a traffic accident. They raised thousands. I think they hit 6 figures.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars. BYU fans raised hundreds of thousands. Mormons raised hundreds of thousands of dollars for Texas Tech and their team barber, and I think it was the team barber's wife who had been involved in a traffic accident. And that's just one example.
Yeah.
That group of BYU alum, Mormons, human beings, have come together to raise tons of money for tons of different causes that have nothing to do with BYU or Mormons. It's unacceptable. Yeah. No other religion would be subjected to that in a basketball game, and we'd be okay with that.
Exactly. Yeah, and you and I were talking before the show about that, which is a whole nother layer. Totally agree. And BYU, to magnify just how incredible they have been for this league, number one, as people and as fans. Number two, in terms of national relevance, NBA and NFL talent, TV value, real credibility, because they're winning on the field and off the field and the court. And for Oklahoma State, like, act like you've been there, right? Celebrate the win. Celebrate Anthony Roy. He had a banger of a night. Celebrate that signature night in Stillwater. And demeaning the opponent now taints that. And there will be a fine. There will be repercussions, and it's going to hurt the Oklahoma State basketball.
And I know BYU fans, like, it's almost become a joke to a degree for them because it happens so often that, you know, yeah, there's going to be a reprimand. There's the Oklahoma State will come out and release a statement and say that does not reflect our values. I mean, it's the same. I mean, I'm not saying anything to BYU fans they don't already know or haven't already articulated, but I mean, they have forever been, for that reason, okay, because of the Mormon faith, BYU has been alienated from the rest of college athletics. And we can go through the history, whatever, but like where they are today, the Big 12 needs to be like a family. And you got to wrap your arms around everybody within this family. And like outside of this circle, like they may say those things, but it's so disappointing that this conference still has that. And maybe it's just like the old schoolyard bully thing where it's like just go for the easiest way to make somebody feel bad. But it's just, it sucks. It's disappointing we have to continue to talk about this. I wish there was something else that could be done. But just look at the value add that they've had and just forget about everything else. Like, the fact that group of people raises money for causes across this conference, like no other school does that.
Right.
No other fan base does that. It's super disappointing. I know for BYU fans, they're like, yeah, this happens all the time. But it shouldn't, especially in this conference, because it's the reason, the Mormon faith was the reason that BYU for 100 years was not in a conference. Mm-hmm. It's the reason.
Yeah. Big 12 has embraced them on the Big 12 side, it's time that these Big 12 member institutions do the same, because BYU in this league is really good for Oklahoma State.
I mean, it starts at a school level. If you've got a student section that starts to chant that, somebody needs to stop it right away.
Shut it down.
And then, revoke. You can't come into the stadium again.
Yep.
You're done.
Shut it down. And the Oklahoma State students sit right behind the benches. They are right there, rows 1 through 7. It's a small, compact area that you can manage some of that.
Kick them out, and they can't come back.
Mm-hmm. All right, the other team last night that has maybe started to enter the conversation. They're now 3-7 in Big 12 play, and all of their metrics look really good because they played a brutal non-conference schedule and had some nice wins, and that is Baylor. Baylor takes down Colorado at home last night in front of a great crowd at Foster Pavilion, 86-67. They were up by 24 at halftime. Baylor offensively was a machine. Shot 53% from the floor. They made 10 threes last night. Everybody getting involved with Yesufu, Cameron Carr, Obi Agbim was fantastic. Carr and Agbim combined for 12 assists. They each had 6 to only 3 turnovers. And the leading scorer for for Baylor was Yesufu with 27, who continues to get better. Baylor's another team that I'm kind of watching close. They're 1 or 2 really quality wins away from being very much back on the bubble.
Yeah, I mean, this was a game Baylor had to have. And go back to the Oklahoma State BYU game, you got to win on your home floor. If you're a tournament team, and you've got to win on your home floor, period. Doesn't matter who you're playing. And you've got to just do enough on the road. And so Baylor had to have this game. I think this is about as good as they've looked all year, offensively and defensively. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I mean, they shot the ball well. They rebounded the basketball extremely well. The rebounding was huge for Baylor. I think they out-rebounded them by +6. So yeah, that was it's a big win for Baylor. They needed it.
Houston looked like Houston
last
night. They stomped UCF 79-55. Kingston Flemings had 18 points. He had 6 assists. And then the other freshman, Chris Sinak, had 14 points and 10 rebounds. Houston is 20-2 now, 8-1 in Big 12 play. UCF didn't have a player in double figures. Stillwell had 8, 6, and 6 for them. But Houston is so much better quietly than they were in November. Here's what Kelvin Sampson said, clip 12, about how his team has improved the most.
We just do what most good teams do. You don't ever draw conclusions on teams early in the season. And if you do, make sure you put a comma. Don't put periods. Teams get better as the year goes on. Most good teams do. So we weren't capable of doing this in November. Our first game, I think, was against Lehigh. That was our guys, all our freshmen. Mercy's basically a freshman this year. Chase is a freshman. Kingston's a freshman. Chris is a freshman. And we got a lot of guys playing minutes for the first time in college. 2 of them were in high school last year, so obviously early in the season we were kind of moving at a pace I anticipated. We just kind of get better as the year goes on. We've done that around here for a long time.
By the way, Houston shot the ball horrifically last night. They were 3 for 19 from three-point range, 16% as a team, and they still beat a team that's top 25 caliber by 24.
Yeah, I mean, and this was a classic Houston game where, they rebound the ball, they kill you rebounding, they kill you in the paint, and they suffocate you defensively. This was how Houston, this is Houston's brand, this game. If you want to say, what is Houston under Kelvin Sampson, just show them this game. They can shoot a lot better from 3. They have a lot better three-point shooters.
Right.
But the fact that, as you brought up, they shot and only hit 3 threes in this game and still won by 20, and we're up basically by 20 the entire game, seemingly, is because they suffocate you defensively, they rebound the basketball, and they score in the paint. If you can do those 3 things in 6 games in the tournament, you're going to win the whole thing, regardless of how many threes you hit in the game.
You look at that line and you think maybe that's a night that Houston got, and they still win by 24. And their 2 best players on the floor were freshmen last night. Huge win For the Cougars, Arizona State also picked up a nice road win at Utah. They're now 3-7 in Big 12 play as we take a look at the games that took place last night on the hardwood. All right, coming up next, we'll talk more about this Houston win over UCF and get Chancellor Johnson's thoughts on all the Big 12 basketball action. He is the Big 12 content creator and analyst. We'll ask him what he's been up to as he covers this league. That's Ari. I'm James, and this is Big 12 Radio. This is the Big 12 Conference. This is a different league.